So some of you might have noticed that our speaker for today, his name is Hodges Jr. He is a professional photographer, and my grandfather was also a professional photographer, and I can't think of anyone else who knows more about photography than my dad. So that's why I thought he would be a great person to hop on for today's program and answer some of your questions, because I think as genealogists, we need to be a little bit more proactive in recording our family's history as it's happening. So that is why we're having this program today. Just as another reminder, I see my colleague Allison is putting the link to the handout in the chat, which I will be doing the same throughout the program. If you have questions for today's speaker, definitely use the Q&A button for that, and conversation, all that other good stuff, share resources, use the chat button for that. So let me just put that in there. Now, Dad, if you'd like to share your, turn on your video, we can get started.
Here we are.
Great, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is quite the family affair.
Yeah, it's good to be with you.
Yeah, so as we kind of get started, do you want to share a little bit about how you got into photography, how Grandpa got into photography, so people know you know what you're talking about?
Okay, well, I learned especially all the basics from my father, who became a photographer during World War II. And after World War II, he at first worked for the Pinkerton Detective Agency, photographing horses for horse identification. And the Pinkertons back then were in charge of that. And then he went on to become a track photographer. And a track photographer shoots anything the racetrack needs. We shoot the traditional finishes and winner circles, plus publicity pictures. If they need headshots or just beauty shots around the racetrack for advertising, we do those things as well. So it's a family business, and he went on the racetrack in 1948, and I took my first pictures when I was probably around 12 years old on the racetrack. And I worked for a newspaper for a while and decided, no, I think I'd rather be behind a camera. So in 1976, I went to work for him and took over the shooting end of the business about a year and a half later.
Great. I actually want to share a picture that some of you might recognize if you happen to see the Facebook event for this program. Some of you might actually recognize this picture. This is actually a picture of my grandfather. It's a self-portrait. One of the things I actually really like about the picture is how he was able to frame himself within the arch. So when you're taking pictures, composition, like how the picture is laid out is important. Do you want to explain some of that?
Well, this picture, let me just say this about it. He took this picture right after the war in a building that was in pretty bad shape. It was later restored. And he took pictures all around Manila in the Philippines. And just a few years ago, my older sister went to Manila and visited a museum over there that had archives of pictures and just all sorts of things, she said. And she showed them the pictures that he had taken. And they said, we knew these buildings existed, but we have never seen a picture of many of these buildings. And she gave the museum a complete set of the pictures. So it shows that what you might think of as not particularly important, it might be pictures of the place you grew up in or your neighborhood. Down the road, it might be very important as people relive memories. And in this case, this historical society in the Philippines, they had never seen these things before, which I guess after the war, they had more important things to think about, like, not starving, and didn't worry about they're bombed out buildings not being photographed. But this picture, he set it up on a tripod and put himself in it and had an army buddy shoot it. And this later was actually a stained glass that had been lost, and it's been rebuilt since then. But I especially like this picture too. I think it's great.
He's sitting in what used to be a window, and I don't think I ever realized that.
Yeah, that today it is a stained glass. So I assume that it had been a stained glass before the war. I could be wrong about that, but I would kind of think so.
Learn something new every day. Can you guys see this picture? Which picture are you looking at? Hold on. Let me reshare my screen. Because you mentioned neighborhoods, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you might recognize this gentleman as our speaker from today.
Yeah, I learned how to change a bit.
So,
this was 1969.
Yeah. So when you guys take pictures of your family, you don't have to always have the perfect like family portrait, right? They can be more informal. You can, I find it interesting that our family has always had this interesting, maybe slightly quirky tradition of posing with cars. I don't know if you guys have had that experience before as well. As a kid, I always thought, man, why are we posing with a car again? This is weird. But as from a genealogist perspective, now, it's interesting because this is a car you don't have anymore. Didn't you say that you sold the car right before you went into the Army?
Right, I did.
Yeah.
I don't really have a lot of pictures of it, but this was a picture of my mother sitting in the car, and I had somebody shoot it for us. And it's a kind of family picture that would be special, and it may have seemed like nothing at the time, but yeah, it's a pretty cool picture. And I would encourage people to actually take pictures with their cars.
Yeah. There are pictures of like my sister posing with the family station wagon.
Mm-hmm.
There's a picture of me with my first car, a picture of me with the first car that I purchased, which is more recent. And someone had actually said in the chat that posing with cars was very popular in the late 1940s and 50s. Just for the Hodges family, it just continued.
Well, the thing about it is, especially people of my generation, you are what you drive. I know millennial may not understand that concept, but yeah, you are what you drive.
Well, someone has said cars used to be more interesting because the model styles changed more frequently.
They had more character, for sure. Like this one, the windows were kept in the trunk. And if it rained, you'd have to stop and open the trunk and get the windows and put them on.
Which in New Orleans, I would think that you would have to be able to work very quickly to hop out, get the windows in before the entire inside is drenched. Yeah.
Right. And it would take several minutes to get the top up too.
Yeah. Well.
Anyway, I think cars are something that, it's a good thing to pose your family with your car.
Yeah. And also, posing inside, posing or not posing, inside your houses, not just the formal areas of the house, like the living room, the dining room, but the kitchen. I was actually saying earlier today, I wish I knew what the inside of my grandparents' kitchen looked like. So this is my sister's mother-in-law, who is very big on baking. And every year for Christmas, she would make this huge spread of desserts. She'd make all these things from scratch. I dream about Nancy's Christmas baked goods. Now, this picture is taken inside my parents' kitchen. There's a lot of stuff in the background.
But your riding awards.
Yeah. I used to ride horses, so my mom liked to hang them on their kitchen stove thing. But 15, 20 years from now, I might want to be able to see what all stuff is in my parents' kitchen. What all stuff did they have? And part of the reason why I wanted to put this particular picture in here is because there are two versions of this picture from two different Christmases. One is better than the other one. This one is the better one than this one. Now, this is where composition is kind of important. Dad, you want to kind of explain why I might think that the other picture was better?
Well, the fact that you have her off in the other picture to the left and her baked goods spread out to the right, I just think it makes it much more interesting than having her right in the middle. And it's not, I mean, it's just a snapshot. It's not well lit. Is the ribbons are kind of burned out. It's not horrible.
Yeah.
It would be good enough for, for Facebook, certainly. Why don't you go to pets?
Go to pets. You want me to show pictures of pets? Okay.
Because people, that's another thing. Their cars and their pets. People love pictures of their pets. I mean, all you have to do is go on Facebook and everybody's got pictures of their dogs and their cats. Yeah, that's a picture of Elizabeth's mother with our puppy, Reba McIntyre. And I think it's a pretty good picture. It has a lot of character to it. And that's a good family picture. Now, show the picture, if you can, of Lucy under the table.
This is another picture of my mother and my parents' other dog. And the reason why I kind of added this to the mix is that, as I said, you don't have to have these super formal pictures, right? But this is, a lot about what my parents like doing all the time, which is sitting in their backyard with the dog. My mom's reading a book, has her iced tea, right? Would she say it's an attractive picture for her? Probably not. But guess what? As a child of a photographer, there are a lot of pictures of me where I just look really unhappy. Right? Where I'm just over the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. It shows it's a window in time to the day, into the moment, how people are feeling, right?
Right. But let me just point out something else about this picture, because I think especially amateur photographers, they have a habit of taking everything, if they're using a camera, horizontal. Well, if you'd taken this horizontal, you would have a lot of wasted space left and right. This is definitely a vertical picture, in my opinion. So if you're using a camera, don't be afraid to turn it to shoot a vertical picture. And I guess we could get into this. If you use a fast enough shutter speed, you can blur the background some. But maybe that's getting too technical.
Yeah, we don't have to get that technical. Oh, this is great. Someone said, my daughter is shocked at how many pics we have of her pouting. Yeah.
But if that was that point in time in history, when in her history where she did a lot of pouting, then.
Well, I have a good example of showing what's going on in the moment. So this was taken of my mom and I and a friend of mine from college from when I went to New York City to find an apartment, right? This was an incredibly stressful and exhausting trip. We were all very tired by this point. I mean, my friend's sitting on the sidewalk, which y'all know how gross that is. Yeah, that's gross. But my sister took this picture and it just cracks me up every time I see it. That one, and there's another picture of my mom, not from that same trip, but also New York.
been
she is a happy person, I swear. But there comes a time when you're just tired of having the camera in your face. But that's okay. We get to capture those moments. Somebody said the photos I take now are all of my cats. I get that. A lot of my pictures are of my cats. So you're not alone there. Taking pictures of your pets, that's okay. Another thing I want to point out is, if you guys ever get the opportunity to just take pictures of the insides of some of your family members' houses, do that. So Dad, which house was this?
This was our house on Jeanette Drive in Metairie. And I think what I did before we were leaving town for like 6 months, I went around shooting pictures of all the rooms just for insurance purposes. And this picture right here, that must have been a scan negative, and the color balance is not particularly good. But for insurance purposes, I guess it would work. But yeah, it's still, nevertheless, it's something that you should have. If you have a grandparent whose home you still go to and visit, yeah, take pictures of the interior with and without people.
Yeah, someone had said, if you still have grandparents or parents who live at home, take pictures of the inside and the outside and all the rooms with or without people. Yeah, no, I agree. And this person is actually saying that, photos are a really good memory aid for people who might later on be having some issues with memory loss. There is such a thing called photo reminiscence. There have been studies on it, which in a little bit, if I remember, or if you guys are interested in that, send us an email and I can send you a link to some of that information, because I know Vivid Pics is big on the photo reminiscence stuff. Now, I see that there is a question in the chat, which if you guys have questions, this is your opportunity. Ask as many questions as you want, within reason, of course. So this person was asking, what is the best way to light the inside of your house for pictures?
Well, things have changed so much in photography. It used to be you'd have to set up a whole bunch of lights and maybe bounce things off of umbrellas. But today, with these digital cameras, you can turn on a couple of indoor lights, hit auto white balance, and bump your ISO, which is the equivalent of what we used to call film speed, or ASA, bump it up very high to 2,000 or 4,000 or even higher if you have to. The less complicated, the better, really, today. There's even on many cameras what they call auto ISO, and it will change the ISO upward or downward to give you the best picture. You can, if you have that on your camera, you can try that as well. Now, if you're using a phone, I think a lot of phones just automatically use auto ISO to give you a pretty good exposure.
It depends on the phone. Some of the newer iPhones, you actually have more options. I have to actually look. I know, like,
I'm
looking at my phone.
I'm not a big fan of phone pictures. I have that prejudice, as many photographers do. But I have to tell you that today's cell phones are so good that they pretty much put out of business the point and shoot camera part of the industry. People don't buy point and shoot cameras because their phones are better. So experiment, have fun with it.
Yeah, I think that's the worst picture is the picture that was never taken. Like anything else, practice makes perfect. So just take the pictures. I think if you get too wrapped up in making it perfect, you'll never take the picture. Yeah.
I tell you a thing that that cell phones are good for, and that is Candid Pictures. If you holding a cell phone in your hand, where's my cell phone? Like this, a person might think that you're looking at something on your phone and you're taking their picture. And a lot of candid pictures of people are their best pictures. Can you go to that picture of Nelson Menard?
Yeah.
His glasses are down. And candid pictures are really a lot of fun.
This picture?
That picture.
Yeah.
This was a man I knew from the fairgrounds racetrack. He was the clerk of scales, and a much beloved fixture individual. He was a jockey as a young person and later became the clerk of scales. And I shot this picture, and he was not actually looking at me. He didn't know I was shooting his picture. Well, he passed away shortly after that. And I presented this picture at a memorial service, and the family went crazy over it. That they said it was the best picture ever taken of him, because it really showed his personality, looking over his glasses like that, like, I am watching you. That was Nelson. And so candid pictures are great, and you have a better shot at getting good candid pictures really with a cell phone, I find, than with a camera. You raise a camera up, and often you're going to be noticed, and the person is going to tense up.
Yeah.
Now, in this case, I had a long lens, and he didn't see it coming.
Yeah. I think some of the best pictures I've taken of my husband was when he didn't even realize I was taking a picture of him. Because otherwise, anytime now, I love my husband, don't get me wrong, but he is like he's a typical millennial man who, when you take a picture of him, you have to coax him into smiling. I mean, you would think was born in the 19th century where everyone looked very serious. I'm just like, you don't have to do that. You can pretend like you like me in the picture, some of you might be able to relate to that. But the best pictures I've taken of him, he's not paying attention. And they were taken with my phone because he didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. Someone had said, in the chat, our cameras have hundreds and hundreds of photos on them. Do they ever get printed? Do they just reside forever on our phones? That's becoming more and more of a thing. What do you think, Dad?
Well, I really think that if you're saving your pictures on your phone, you should have them somewhere else. You should have them in the cloud. You should move them to your computer and then copy them to an external drive. You should have them in more than one place, because if they're just on your phone, something could happen. Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up right here. Can everyone see this? Often I would say that people tend to look almost straight down on their pets, and it's very unattractive. This is one where it's not straight down, a little over to the side, but it works. It works. Generally speaking, I'd say get down to their level, kneel down or sit down to take pictures of dogs and cats.
Someone said that they're going to take a picture of their dog just like this as soon as this program is done.
Well, this one works. And you notice the focus is right on his eye there. Is what it looks like to me.
Like right here.
Right. So so that his face just jumps off the page, so to speak.
For those of you who have iPhones, portrait mode is great for taking pictures of pets, because it will do this where you'll have a focal point like this, like their face, but then the rest is a little out of focus, but in a flattering way. Right.
On a camera, especially like, this camera right here, this is a M50 Mark II Canon. This is the best, most sold mirrorless camera around today is this camera. And it has eye detection. So when you're shooting portraits, it will focus right in on the eyes. And what that can do for you is allow you to shoot at a higher shutter speed, which will give you a more narrow depth of field and blur the background, so that the subject matter just really sticks out. So of course, you get the same thing as Elizabeth mentioned with portrait mode on your iPhone.
Yeah. Do whatever works for you. If you have a camera already, learn how to use the camera you have. You don't need to necessarily go out after this program and go buy the next big fancy camera. Learn to use what you have. And if you do decide to buy a new camera, I'm going to give you the advice that my dad always likes to give me, which is read the book and watch YouTube videos. Reading the book, the user manual can get really dry. But YouTube videos are really great. Nothing like a good YouTube video. I see some questions in the chat. Oh, this is a good one. So older camera pictures that are not much bigger than like a thumbnail photo, how would you enlarge and improve them? So to blow up something that, I guess, Bernie and Terry, that you're talking about, the original print you have is really small. I assume that's what they're saying.
They might be talking about cropping,
No, they have an older camera picture
film
that's really
camera.
small. Yeah, film or older. Yeah.
Okay. If you can scan, I guess they have a negative slide.
They just said our older phone camera pictures. It's not negative.
Oh, it's a phone camera?
There might be a way of enlarging it in Photoshop.
Probably what you want to do is crop it.
It's already small and they want to blow it up.
Right. Do they want to keep the entire image?
Maybe, yeah.
Keep the whole image.
Without seeing it, it would be hard to say.
There are people that like to have pictures printed today on canvas. And what I've learned about printing on canvas is that you don't need as many dots per square inch. So you can take something small and crop it 8 by 10, say, and print it on canvas, and it actually looks pretty good.
Yeah.
You need, though, to work in something like Photoshop and then upload the picture to a lab that does canvas. Like it used to be called CG Pro. Now it's just called prophotos.com. They do beautiful canvases at a reasonable price. There
was one also that I've used. I think it's called Alpenstock. Yeah. I've actually had some really great prints from Alpenstock. I can put a link to that in the chat. The next question I am seeing here are, what are some different methods to organize pictures? They have so many, and trying to find any one particular picture can be kind of difficult.
Well, first of all, you should organize your pictures on a hard drive. I would say, family pictures, and then inside of that folder, you might have Christmas 2020, Christmas 2021, and have all the pictures there, and name every image. If it's a picture of, cousin Jimmy, put his name down. Don't leave something as IMG 0056.
Yeah.
Name every image and put them into folders. You could put them by year. You could put them by events, graduation, Easter, Christmas, whatever, but put them into folders. Yeah. And that's the best way to organize, I find.
What was the name of the photo print place that you mentioned just a second ago?
It used to be called CG Pro. Now I think it's just called proprints.com. They just changed their name in the last 5 months or so.
I'll put the link in the chat. There we go. Yeah, I know. So our family Dropbox of like shared family pictures, as y'all can imagine, it's a hefty folder. We've organized things mostly by, so we have pictures by decade, and then we have a folder for pets, and within that folder, it's like Luke, Toby, like the names of each pet. We have Christmas, because we always take a lot of pictures at Christmas. And within the Christmas folder, it's like Christmas 1999, Christmas 2000. And I think, oh, and weddings. So there's then a folder for, I can actually show the folders.
You know, another nice thing that a family can do is take their pictures from, let's say, a vacation or some other event, and go to something like Nations Photo Lab or one of these others, and build a photo book. And they have all these templates, and you just drop them in and it builds it for you. And because a lot of people would rather look at photos in a book than on a computer screen. And I know in several vacations that we've taken to Ireland, we've later produced books, which everyone in the family seems to like.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think you even had a folder in here of like cropped pictures for a book.
If you go to the Ireland pictures, 2018, and see which
album,
is one.
book one.
Yeah.
So yeah, like he would lay out pictures like this.
Yeah. Now that's something I did myself, but this company will do it for you. You select, like for this grouping, you would select 6-8 pictures, and it just throws them up there kind of randomly. And if you don't like it, you click something and it'll redo it.
I know Album Stomp.
Yep, that's another.
Is one. That's one that my sister has used.
Yeah, I've used that.
I see a couple people like putting in the chat things on file naming. Use whatever file naming works for you and makes sense for you. But whatever file naming format you use, stick with it. Because Dropbox is, for those who might not know what Dropbox is cloud storage, essentially. So we can put things into Dropbox and you can share it with other people. So I have access to this folder, so does my dad, so does my sister, and we all upload things together. It's mostly my dad and my sister uploading things. But what's nice about it is that we can all access this from wherever. I have Dropbox on my phone. Google Drive is another one. I use Google Drive for my like personal and work related things.
The only thing about cloud storage is I don't entirely trust it. I think
many copies keep things safe. So don't just use cloud storage.
I would definitely back up your cloud storage to an external drive. And if you are sharing this cloud storage with several people in your family, tell them to all do the same.
Let's see. I have negatives from the early 1900s. What can I do with these to supplement my family history? I would recommend scanning them like immediately, because negatives can deteriorate over time. So scan them, preserve them, in that way. And from there, it's however you want to use them for your family history. Like, so have them, in folders.
I think if they're really important to you, I would probably have them professionally done. There are some film scanners you can buy that will do a pretty decent job, but if they're really important to you, have it professionally done.
So this picture I don't know who scanned this picture or who even has this picture. I guess St. Sylvia has the original.
Mhm.
This is of my great grandmother, Maggie McCann. This would have been from the early 1900s. I mean, you can use this if you're, say, writing a blog post. If you are putting this on, Ancestry, put it where you want to, as far as storage, but then also try to incorporate it into however you want to tell your family story. If you want to write a short thing, write a Facebook post, whatever works for you and whatever way your family actually wants to listen to you. Because my dad probably could attest to this. My family gets tired of hearing me talk about genealogy because I talk about it as if these people are still alive, which they're not.
Here's another thing that you can do, and this is important. If you go to File Info, let's say you're in Photoshop or Photoshop Elements. The nice thing about Photoshop Elements, it doesn't cost nearly as much money. There's something called File Info. You click File and go down to File Info, click that, and then you can write a long description on whatever the picture is, and then resave it, and the File Info stays with the picture.
If you're using a PC, in File Explorer, if you right click on an image and then click Properties, you have your general stuff. And then if you click Details, you can add in more information here.
Mm-hmm.
So you can add in a title, you can add in a subject, you can put tags. So this is what we librarians call metadata, right? So this is essentially data about data, essentially. I do see a question in the chat, which I'm going to remind you guys, put your questions in the Q&A just so I don't lose them. I do see a question in the chat about, a good scanner. Is there a scanner that you recommend? Particularly for old pictures, because this person said that their printer scanner, which I assume is one of those, hybrid printers with the flatbed scanner on top, it leaves white spots on old pictures.
Yeah, Epson makes some good scanners, and the Epson scanners, the one that I have, you can put a stack of 20 pictures and it just runs them like in about 20 seconds. They're all through there. And then you get two versions. You get one that's very close to the original, and then you get one that their computer program has indicated it needs maybe higher contrast or some color balance work, and it'll alter it for you. And it's very good, especially for photos that are old and faded. It seems to really enhance those a lot. If you're not satisfied with either version, you can go into Photoshop if you have that and do your own work. But if you don't have any program like Photoshop, usually the improved version of the scan is going to be the one you're going to like. So I would look at the Epson scanners. I think they run around $300 to $500, I think. The one I have, I think I paid $600 for. It's quite good.
We will have a program on the last Tuesday this month all about scanning that my colleague Kay will do. So if you want to know more about scanning or suggestions on very specific scanners, because I know she likes Epson scanners a lot as well, definitely tune into that program. So I'm going to put a link to the registration for that in the chat. We are getting more questions in the chat, which yay, thank you. Can you talk about how do you compose a good picture?
How do you compose a good picture? Well, I tell you what, go to the picture that says party group 1, then there's a party group 2. Do you see those two pictures I sent you earlier?
Yeah, hold on one moment.
Okay, good. Yeah, okay, that is an uncropped version. I just shot that picture. It had been raining, and we had to do this group of people, and we went inside in this tunnel between the paddock and the racetrack, and we shot there. And as you can see, there's much too much wasted space left and right.
Yeah, he's talking about
So-
here.
So we crop the picture.
This is party group too. So this is cropped in. So it's kind of cutting out that wasted space on the side.
Right, and that's one of my biggest gripes about Facebook and social media pictures in general. If people just took the time to crop a picture after they take it, their pictures would be much more interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Because we see this a lot when people donate pictures to us. Even if they're recent pictures where the people in the picture, and it's a group picture like this, they are microscopic. Because
Right.
and you have all this wasted space. And when it's cropped in a little bit, you can actually see more of the people, see more of their face.
Mhm.
So if you're doing a group picture like this, definitely crop people in, but also, arrange people. Don't be afraid to be like, you stand here, you stand here, you stand here.
Most phones have cropping tools.
Yeah.
Just people tend not to use them. You probably should.
Yeah. Sometimes it's better to crop after the fact than be standing too far away and then zoom in a bunch, because that can make things look kind of blurry. And if you have to zoom in that much, just take a step closer and then crop it after. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, this was a case actually where my glasses were so wet, I had a hard
You're
time.
just hoping for the best.
I mean, I just couldn't see. I was standing out in the pouring rain, and then we walked in and shot this picture. And thank God for autofocus, or I would have been in bad shape. It's one thing wearing glasses when you're taking pictures in the rain. Sometimes it's an adventure.
So this question is twofold. So somebody was asking, what DPI do you need to use to make photos better for cropping and modifying? Now, I say that, could you, before answering that, explain what DPI is for those who might not necessarily be aware?
Okay, that's dots per square inch. When I'm printing a photo, I have a printer that is, it's a Fuji printer. It's a DX100. And I also have some Epson printers, and they're all 300 DPI printers. So I crop everything 300 DPI. If you're cropping things at 100 DPI, you're going to lose a lot of detail.
Yeah.
Now, for Facebook or some other social media, remember your computer screen is only 72 DPI. So if you crop at 100 DPI for a picture you're putting on social media, that's plenty. That's plenty.
Somebody brought up a good point in the chat, which is, if you're, say, scrapbooking or something, you might want to keep the original image, but then have a separate cropped version of it, which I mean, you do that. You like to have your cropped folder. Yeah. And, when talking about kind of arranging people in pictures, somebody actually said that they had always been told when composing to divide the photograph into 9 squares and put the photo slightly off center. That's also called the rule of thirds. Yeah. Do you subscribe to the rule of thirds?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Of course, I'm primarily a sports photographer, and it doesn't really apply for most of the time.
But when you're taking, you also like to take a lot of pictures of like landscapes and things.
Yeah.
Your fun pictures. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the rule of thirds makes sense. But the main thing is, don't say that, okay, this is not the rule of thirds, or this is not done exactly according to the rules, so it's wrong. It's not necessarily wrong. It's just something you should evaluate and decide. Like, for instance, hands. There's certain ways that people pose hands, and it would be considered, well, that's wrong to be like this, you know. Well, maybe that's what you want to say. So don't necessarily go by the rules. Just remember what the rules are and evaluate it. Say, is this what I want to do?
The rules are what you make them.
That's deep.
I could be deep sometimes. So, oh, this is a good question for you, because I know you have a lot. Well, you did at least have a lot of slides. What is the best way to preserve slides? Are slides basically the same thing as negatives?
There are slide scanners out there. I would definitely try to scan the ones that are most important to you. If they're really valuable, then I might have them professionally done. I'm trying to think of who makes. Canon has an attachment for one of their flatbed scanners that you can use for doing slides. There are other slide scanners, but definitely I would make them digital, because depending on how they're stored, they won't last forever. The colors will fade. So I would definitely scan them.
Yeah, I can actually show you guys some examples. Aren't you
That picture
of
the Austin Healey, that is a slide.
Oh, that picture was a slide?
That was a slide that I scanned.
What about these pictures from when you were in the Army? Yeah, these are all slides.
This was a slide, some slides I did using Agfachrome. I was in Germany, and Agfachrome was sold over there.
Oh, and there's you.
Yeah, there's me. Yeah. And Agfachrome, I thought it faded real bad, and it didn't scan very well, I didn't think. At least not for the scanner that I had.
There's one in here that's really funny, of a girl with a pigeon on her head. This one, yeah.
Yeah. That's Venice. I don't think they allow people to feed the pigeons anymore. They used to have guys that stand out there and sell the food, and there may be one of the seller with pigeons all over him.
What was, you were saying something chrome? It was
Agfa, AGFA. Yeah, Agfa was a company, and I guess they're still in existence, German, and they made a slide film. By the time I got around to scanning these, I thought they'd faded pretty bad. Maybe they weren't stored as well as they could have been.
Somebody was wondering if you had a recommendation for a company to get good quality panoramic prints, because they have an old print of like a downtown Main Street that includes a whole lot of, like, many blocks.
Yeah, there were these cameras back 80 years or so ago that took panoramas, and they used a long film, and the lens would actually move.
Yeah.
Captured. And you may have seen group pictures where the person on the left, and they're usually standing in bleachers, and there's a person on the left, and then he's also on the right. And what he would do, they would start the picture, and the guy on the left would then jump down, run behind the bleachers, and get up on the right. And he was in the picture twice, and the people back then thought that was just great.
But if you were to, like, say you had a copy of that digitally, like say you scanned a copy of a photograph like that and you wanted to get it reproduced, what type of company would you recommend to have that printed?
Well, if you're in a city, I would go into one of the better photo labs that you have available to you and show it to them.
Yeah.
And so you can actually talk to a human about it. That would probably be the best thing to do, rather than chance putting something like that in the mail. I don't really like that idea.
Now, if you already had it digitized already and you just want to get it printed.
Then I would probably use something like, I still use a local lab, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
where you can actually talk to the people. If you don't have a local lab, then I would use a place like Pro Prints or Nations.
nationphotolab.com. I'll put a link to that in the chat.
That's a company that also has very good photo books that they can do for you.
Do you happen to know off the top of your head what version model Epson scanner you have? I know you're not at your house right now. You're at Amanda's house, my sister.
Yeah, actually, that scanner is at the racetrack. I think it might be called a 680. Let's see if there's such a thing.
I'm Googling it. 680W.
That's what I have.
Fast photo scanner. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to scan a 20 5x7s that you have, or 4x6s, I mean, you can do those in no time.
Okay.
And if you can't buy that locally, you can go to B&H Photo, which is bhphotovideo.com, and they sell those. Photo scanner is a very good thing to have now, because so many people do have old photographs which they would like to preserve, and they would even like to share them with family and friends.
Oh, this is an interesting question. So this person said that they have a 16mm small camera with film from World War II. Where can they get that developed? I would not send that off. I would find a local lab.
That is, wait, to have, it is undeveloped film?
That's what this question reads like. Undeveloped film.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, that is.
That's exciting.
I would do a significant amount of research into who can best do that job before you entrust it to anyone. That is something.
That is exciting. I mean, so for those of you who are in the program at the beginning, when my dad was talking about my grandfather's World War II pictures, how is Grandma Dolly organizing those pictures? Because my grandfather was not the most organized human on the planet. And my grandmother was responsible for keeping him organized. But didn't she store those in a certain way?
Well, that's an interesting story. My father went all around the Philippines at the end of World War II, taking pictures of things that he saw. And he had a sign-up sheet, and he showed like he had a description of all these different pictures, picture 1, picture 2, there must have been about 80 of them. And then there was a sign-up sheet, and you would write your name and address and which pictures you wanted, and he sold them for $1 a piece. So he sent out several hundred pictures after he got home, developed them on Dublin Street in New Orleans in a bathroom, and mailed out these pictures all over the country, and with a bill in it, $1 a piece for these pictures. And of the hundreds he sent, not a single person did not pay him. Everyone paid him. Think about that. Today, you might be in a little trouble. But I still have at least a copy of that sign-up sheet, or the description of all these various pictures, and very politically incorrect descriptions by today's standards. They show a picture of this building and say the Japs really bombed this one. It's things like that. But that's the times they lived in.
The person said that it's in the camera, one roll outside, no outfits near them. As in no photo labs near them. Because I'd hate to send that off, considering, know exactly what's on it. It could be something really, really cool. I would think about it. Maybe contact some local photographers in the area and see if they have any suggestions.
I tell you what, if it's something of that much value historically, I might even contact your local congressman and see if he can get hooked up with someone from the Pentagon that can do it for you.
Yes, one person even said that they had asked the Library of Congress what they recommend.
Oh, the Smithsonian.
Or the National World War II Museum, which is where we donated my grandfather's pictures.
Right.
Yeah, they're now part of their digital collection. So there are people you can reach out to.
Yeah, the National World War II Museum in New Orleans has a very good records keeping section and archival section.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure things like this have probably come up there before.
Now, I know you guys have other questions, but we are just about out of time. So I'm going to recommend that if you guys have more questions, send us an email. Our email is genealogy@acpl.info, which I did put that in the chat just now. If you'd like a copy of the chat, send us an email for that as well, because I know a lot of links were shared in the chat. And also, I do want to mention that we do collect World War II era photos here. We do have the our military heritage database. We collect all wars, actually. It's all the military stuff. So you can also contact us and see if we can digitize it and get it reproduced. And we can put it online, because people do find that stuff interesting. It is important to family research and just history in general. So you can contact us for that type of thing as well. With that being said, thanks everybody for tuning in. I hope you all had a good time, and thank you, Dad, for sharing some of your knowledge. Yeah, so if you guys have more questions, like I said, send us an email. If you'd like to copy the chat, send us an email. And I hope all of you have a good rest of your day.